Believe the things that benefit you, not the things that you necessarily can prove. Hello everybody and welcome. So, in the last video I talked about the specifics of the law of attraction and kind of how that works. So I figured this video was a really good one to bring up the concept of the placebo effect, which is kind of the best scientific proof out there of the law of attraction. And, you know, pretty much everybody knows what the placebo effect is, so it doesn't really require much explanation. So, obviously, the placebo effect has been pretty well documented, and it's a standard almost in scientific communities because somebody can take their new drug, a placebo sugar pill, and then have a control group that doesn't take anything, and then they can determine a little bit better the effectiveness of their drug. And I actually think that's a really good test option because you're testing your drug versus the body's natural ability to heal. And you're kind of tricking people into believing that they're taking the medication, so they then believe that they are being healed. And then you get to test the validity of the drug that you are, working with, which is awesome. But what's humorous about the placebo effect is that scientists have actually proven that the brain can manifest physical changes. Now, in regards to the placebo effect, it's just physical changes within the body, but that alone is pretty impressive. And it kind of goes along the lines of, well, if you change your mind about something, whatever it is, the way you translate it changes how you feel about it, which can then change the outcome in the physical world. And if you're anything like me, the question about whether the physical world actually exists is one that I can't fully answer anyway, so changing just me is more than enough. If I am happier, I can then react to other people in a more positive light and then inspire them to treat me as I want to be treated. It's kind of that treat others as you want to be treated thing. That's classic law of attraction right there. That's the placebo effect. Get your brain right and then everything else will kind of fall into place. So if you study law of attraction, you kind of know that the process goes a little bit like this. Your emotions create your thoughts create your beliefs, and your beliefs create your reality. And I know that a lot of people struggle with the law of attraction, but if you can take something like this and simplify it down to that kind of concept, and you can understand that concept, that's all it takes to start. You can literally just start with that idea and start working with the law of attraction, whether you fully believe it in or not. And that's kind of the cool thing about the law of attraction, is it's not a you either believe or you don't kind of thing. This is something that you can actually test within your own life and see if it helps improve your situation. And, if you think that people are going to call you crazy for believing these things, don't tell them. That's an option. You don't have to tell people you believe these things. I mean, most of my friends and family know my belief structures and so on, but I'm also fairly vocal and opinionated, and, I tend to walk down the path less traveled, so they kind of expect me to be a little bit strange, a little bit weird, and, potentially a little bit off my rocker, with a few bolts loose or whatever, which many of them, I don't actually think that they believe those things, because I'm also a highly logical individual and very, very aware of repercussions. So, I think I'm surprising to a lot of people because I believe these out-of-the-box kinds of things, but I fit really well into the standard world and how that works and so on. So, yes, I tend to come off as a bit of a surprise, and I have been told this, so this is not just my opinion. So, to go along the same line as the placebo effect, and I think I've mentioned this concept before, but scientists have actually proven that, say, when you smile, you actually create happy hormones within your brain. Like you stimulate serotonin development. Similarly, when you say go for a run, the physical damage that you're causing to your body actually creates endorphins, which give you a bit of a high. So, you can decide to go for a run and, and get those endorphins and things like that. But the other side of that is they also recognize that if you don't actually run, you just visualize yourself running, you're actually stimulating the same reactions in the body. You're triggering the muscles, you're triggering the hormones and all these other things. So by not running and just thinking about running, you could actually create the endorphins you get from running. Now, obviously, it's not going to have the same effect on the body because you're not actually putting that strain on your muscles, but it's a really cool concept to think about. And, they've done other studies and stuff like this where if you think about playing the piano and then you end up playing the piano again, you're going to be better at it than you would have been, not playing and then going directly back to playing. Similarly, if you practice the piano every day and then, a week later you're playing it again, you're going to improve. And you're going to improve faster by physically playing it than you do by thinking about what that would look like. But the most effective tactic for improving at anything is actually combining the two. Actually play the piano every day, think about what that is like and how you can improve, and then, you will improve. It's kind of a cool concept. I don't know the scientific studies on that end of the spectrum, and who knows if they're accurate or not. I certainly don't. You can obviously go look that stuff up yourself. Google is my best friend, really, most of the time. I Google everything. So, if you want to look that stuff up, go ahead and Google it. I'm sure you'll find some of this information and, whether it's scientifically proven or not. You also know that I'm a bit of a skeptic, even about scientific evidence. So, I tend to believe things because they are benefiting me in one way or another. But if you need the scientific proof, more power to you. Go ahead and find that. I don't recommend it myself for people like me, but you might be different in that way. So, be you. What's humorous about the placebo effect and its indications and the similar studies along these lines is that despite the fact that we have this scientific proof that your beliefs can actually change your physical life, almost nobody gives a second thought to their beliefs. Almost nobody questions the beliefs that they hold. They just go, yeah, that's what I believe. That's the conclusion I came to, and that's what is. One of the most humorous things I've heard when I do, research on business leaders and whatnot, one of the things they discuss is this concept of the phrase, that's the way it is, or that's the way it's always been, kind of thing. And most of them say that is probably the dumbest response anybody can give. Because as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as an inventor, as a creative, the whole point of your job is to question, is to try new things. You're trying to find better procedures, not just keep things the same, because we know that the same won't always work. Things change. It happens. You cannot go through life without change, even if you want to. I think the main reason, though, that people don't question their beliefs and don't come up with new solutions and things like that is because it requires taking a lot of responsibility for your own life. You actually have to monitor your thoughts throughout the day, and that's not exactly an easy task to do. And not only that, but then you also have to actively work to change your negative thoughts toward more positive paths and, relearn things and figure out where your beliefs went wrong or how you might have misinterpreted. So changing your belief structures requires a lot of effort and, a a lot of people don't want to dedicate the time to that, and I honestly can't blame them. I struggle with this one still. I mean, I've been doing it for years, and still I find myself not meditating regularly and, not monitoring my thoughts much of the time. I still am more positive overall in my belief structures and in my thoughts, but, after a while of not monitoring my thoughts and not monitoring my situations and, taking an active role in meditating and so on, I actually find myself falling back into old patterns and, getting depressed and sad and feeling low and all these things, which is not fun. And it's really humorous that it takes me such a long time to recognize when I'm in those states because I've done this kind of roller coaster thing often enough that you'd think I'd know that if I'm feeling down, I should probably meditate or, refocus on what thoughts I'm thinking and so on. But, I don't. And then eventually I am reintroduced to, say, like the law of attraction or an Abraham Hicks video or something. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been missing. Like, how did I forget that? How did I miss that? And all these things. So, it's weird. We have all these concepts, like cancer is incurable and, marijuana helps you relax and all these other things. And there are some very defined belief structures that we see every day. So a lot of people promote the health benefits of, say, marijuana and so on and so forth because it helps you relax, or it helps stimulate your body into behaving in a different way, or it makes you see the world in a new light, or all these other things. And what's humorous to me is your body actually already produces a lot of the hormones that you're getting from marijuana, such as the benefit of relaxation. You can do that without marijuana. And, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to do that. It requires more work. And I'm like, well, absolutely. I totally understand that. I don't necessarily want to do more work than I have to either, because, humans aren't built that way. We want to do as little as possible to continue to survive. It's actually a survival tactic to do that. It's actually a good thing that we don't want to be busy all the time. It's kind of like sleep. You need sleep. Your body needs to recover from the day. We probably need to spend more time doing nothing than we do, which is unfortunate for us currently because we live in a society that encourages us to be constantly productive and doing something valuable. But of course, then you have the questions of, well, what exactly fits into that category? But, this is not the video to discuss that concept quite yet, so we'll stick with this one. But did you know that cancer cells are produced in your body quite frequently? Most of the time, though, they're destroyed pretty quickly, too. I heard somebody say once that every mole on your body is a cancer cell that was destroyed. So every mole is an indication of some weird adapting cell that your body was like, nope, that's not good for us. We're going to get rid of it. And I have quite a few moles on my face. I mean, I've got this one and all here and so on and so forth. So, I have many cancer spots. But, I've had these for years and they all remain the same size, which kind of indicates that they're not cancerous anymore, which is cool. It's a really cool piece of knowledge that I don't know if it's true or not, but as it doesn't really affect my life in any significant manner, I don't care, once again. I'm constantly surprised by how much I don't care about some things. But, there are aspects of my life that I am really passionate, such as self-development and so on, which is why I make YouTube videos. At least one of the reasons. But whenever somebody gets a cancer scare or, is diagnosed with cancer or something, they almost fall into depression. Almost every single person that gets that kind of diagnosis goes, oh, I'm doomed. This is it. This is how I'm going to die. I'm going to die a horrible death in a hospital, you know, on chemotherapy, feeling ill for the rest of my life. And that's really humorous to me that we almost have this automatic reaction to this diagnosis, but we also know that cancer appears and disappears within our body so easily and so often. So when somebody says that cancer is incurable and that you're going to die in 3 months or 3 years or, you know, whatever, a lot of people are like, oh, damn, guess my life is over. But you actually have the power to heal from that. It's just we don't have medication that heals it for you. So the question then becomes, well, could you get rid of your cancer on your own? And my guess, given the concept of the placebo effect, is absolutely you could. You just have to figure out where you went wrong and change it. Really, really simple, right? And, you know, obviously not. That's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But, you know, I definitely prefer that form of treatment method to losing all my hair and sitting in a hospital throwing up every day. So, I've told my mom on several occasions, I'm like, if I get cancer, I don't want to know. Why? Because I know that my body is much better at healing that than I give it credit for necessarily. And that my chances of survival without knowing it's there are probably a little bit higher than if I did know it was there. But that also means that I have to consistently work on maintaining positive attitudes and positive beliefs and building a life that I love and am inspired by. Which is a lot of responsibility to take on. So, you know, if you would prefer going with the medical version, I don't blame you. I just don't think it's as effective. And part of the reason why I'm cynical about science is actually due to some medical issues that occurred. I had like an allergic reaction to a medicine once, and it landed me in the hospital. And it took them a while to figure out what the problem was. But after we found out what the problem was, I was like, well, damn. Had I known that I shouldn't have been taking this medicine right from the start, I could have avoided this whole thing, saved my parents so much money in medical bills, and, you know, not have scared my 8th grade class into thinking I was going to die of a brain tumor or something. Because, yeah, I was up in Children's Hospital in Seattle, where the doctors were talking about brain surgery. So, you know, knowing that, and that it came from medicine that a doctor prescribed to me, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe my acne wasn't that big of a deal after all. Maybe I should have focused more on healing myself within, you know, more, you know, washing my face regularly and regulating my hormones, watching the foods that I eat, so on and so forth. That probably would have been more effective. You know, I didn't need to resort to the medicine. But as I say that, there may very well be a limit to what we can accomplish with our brains. The problem is nobody knows what it is. We have some reports and stuff of people that can levitate and people that can press their hand into stone and all these things, which a lot of people are like, oh, that's just hogwash, you know, that's obviously not true, so on and so forth. And I'm like, well, I can't prove one way or the other whether it's true. I also can't prove whether or not Santa exists. You know, there very well could be a guy in a red suit and a fat belly that flies around on Christmas Eve and delivers presents. But it's also entirely possible he only delivers presents to people that 100% believe, and since I don't 100% believe, I never benefit from it. Who's to say? Yeah, it doesn't seem all that likely, but I can't prove it one way or the other. I can't prove whether God exists either. So then it comes down to, well, why not believe? How could it possibly hurt me? You know? How could it possibly hurt me to believe that Santa exists? Some might think I'm crazy, but you know what? They do that anyway, so why not believe in Santa and potentially benefit from that belief as well? And that's also not to say that you won't eventually die, because that's pretty much a fact of life. You're not going to escape death forever. And I think it's kind of along the same lines of retirement, though, where if you're, say, a professional football player or something, and you're doing this really hard physical labor every day. You know, you're running into people, you're breaking bones, you're falling over and developing bruises and all these other things. Eventually, you're going to get tired of it. And you might love football and you might stick with it for 20, 30 years, who knows? Maybe you will be forced into retirement because your body is just not going to be able to handle it anymore. But whatever the case may be, some factor is going to tell you, I'm done, that's it, I can't do anymore, or I'm not going to do anymore, or I'm not going to do it with this intensity anymore, whatever the case may be. And I think death is very similar, although it may just be a spiritual kind of thing. It's really hard to say. I mean, some people live to be very, very old, some people die young, and while we can attribute much of that to their medical health and so on, we don't actually know what causes somebody to die. It could very well be that somebody only has it could very well be that somebody only has a heart attack when their spirit is ready to, separate from their body again. I don't know. You can attribute their death to a heart attack, but there are some people that have heart attacks and survive, so why did this one die, specifically? Some people die the first time they have a heart attack. Some people have 5 and survive them all, and then they die of getting hit by a car. I mean, there's no rationale to it. It doesn't make any sense. I myself have actually experienced 2 cases where somebody had such extreme physical damage to their body that they should not have been able to walk again. And both of those people recovered. I mean, one fell off a roof, and he was within, I think, 4 inches of a pipe that would have skewered him had he fallen just 4 inches over. And I think it was on both sides, so he literally fell in between 2 things that would have killed him. Came out of that situation with the doctors telling him he was going to be paralyzed, and ended up recovering so fully that he was able to resume his life at essentially the same level it was before he fell. Another one, I think she broke a vertebrae boogie boarding or something. It was either the beach or skiing or something like that. But she should have been paralyzed. And it seemed like it was only a couple of months and she was up and walking again. And you're like, holy crap, that's not possible. And obviously there are people that don't recover from those things. We all know of people who, well, at least in theory, are quadriplegic. Or, look at Stephen Hawking. He had a degenerative disease that, pretty much made it impossible for him to do anything the average person did. He was kind of living out of his wheelchair. Brilliant man, though. I mean, incredible. And who knows who he would have been had he been out of the wheelchair. We just don't know. So, while we cannot fully know how far any of our brains can take us, or, just how powerful our thoughts are, why not do what you can to benefit from your thought process? Why not try to make as good of a life as you can and play with this concept? A lot of people don't struggle with the 9 to 5 in the same way that I do. The 9 to 5 is somewhat soul crushing for me. So, I get a lot of, well, Allie, just suck it up. Go get a job and help support yourself and so on and so forth. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but if I do that, I'm going to be depressed all the time. And I refuse to accept that life for myself. And I think that's part of the brilliance of me finding this concept, the law of attraction, because I'm like, hey, now I have the possibility of a solution. I mean, I always did before too, but now I actually believe I have the possibility of a solution and am actively working towards it. And then, of course, there's the whole concept of if you work at something for long enough, eventually the world will work in your favor. You know, eventually you'll hit your stride and attract the people you need. You know, one person will share your content with everybody they know, and boom, your whole reputation explodes and everybody loves you, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's what actors do, right? Zac Efron was nobody for such a long time, and I didn't like him in High School Musical, but then he made a particular movie and I was like, holy crap, I love this guy. Jennifer Aniston, same thing. You know, she was a nobody for a really long time, and then something broke her way. She got on the show Friends, and her career just blew up from there. And she's done better than, I'd say, everybody that she worked with on Friends. So, you know, somehow that worked for her and gave her the life that she wanted, a life that she loved. So I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. It's just not going to be the same as theirs. And I may never reach that level of fame. Honestly, I don't really want to, because the pressure seems somewhat suffocating, but, you know, maybe I'll adjust if that life does occur. So I suppose that in the end, with this whole law of attraction thing, you have the choice to either embrace this concept or not. I mean, that's entirely up to you. I encourage that you do, and if you fear judgment, don't tell anybody. But in my head, it essentially comes down to this. Which do you fear the most? The judgment of other people because you believe something different than they do, or a life lived in constant regret? Now, to me, the most terrifying thing in the world, in my eyes, is to regret not doing something or not trying. You know, to live a life of silent misery, wishing I had the courage to do what I really wanted to do. So that's what I'm giving you the opportunity to do now. You know, decide which thing you fear the most, and, you know, even figure out which one you wish you feared the most. Because if the answer to that is I fear the judgment of others more than living my life in regret, maybe that's not the best thing to fear. Maybe you should change your fear. I don't know how to do that. It's probably not a good idea to fear anything, really. I mean, well, it's a good idea to fear a lion catching you if you're in the savannah being chased by one. But beyond that, it's probably not a good idea to fear much else. So, if you fear living out of regret more, or if you wish you feared that more than you fear the judgment of others, now you have the question of, well, why not believe in things? I recently watched or read some articles on how Dr. Emoto, the guy that did the water crystal experiment, kind of gave false results and so on and so forth. And I didn't really enjoy that, because I kind of love the concept that he came up with, but I suppose in my eyes it didn't really matter anyway. And that's the conclusion I came to again, was like, well, it really doesn't matter, because even if water doesn't change with intention, my body does. And my body could very well respond differently to water if I believe that water responds to my intention. So, you know, it's kind of like, well, yeah, they scientifically proved that this was false. And I went, yeah, well, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to believe it anyway. Because it could benefit me. My body could benefit from that concept. You know, I'm drinking positive energy. I'm breathing positive energy. You know, all these other things. Every single thing I do helps improve my attitude, my thoughts, and my beliefs. You know, I feel good, and therefore my life is good, so on and so forth. And to be perfectly honest, I don't believe that this belief structure could possibly cause me any harm or possibly cause anybody else harm. So I'm like, so why not believe it? And I feel like I'm somewhat repeating myself, but it is a point worth making. You know, believe the things that benefit you, not the things that you necessarily can prove. Because the list of things that you can prove is very small, and the list of things that can benefit you is so large, it very well might be infinity. But, you know, nobody can change your mind for you. You have to make this choice. And to a certain degree, in my eyes, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't really matter what anybody does, assuming that it doesn't cause harm to themselves or another. I don't want anybody to suffer. I don't want anybody else to make me suffer. So as long as you're not causing suffering in yourself or harming another through your decisions, I don't care what you make a choice about. You know, if choosing to believe that only science has the answers, you are welcome to do that. That belief actually can cause harm, though, because I've been bashed on several occasions by people that are like, oh, you're not a scientist, well, you don't know anything, you're stupid, and, you know, so on and so forth. And I'm like, well, you just destroyed the potential for a perfectly good conversation, but you know what? I can't do anything about that. That was your choice. So, yeah. Be aware of your beliefs. Be aware of how they can affect you and the people around you. And, you know, make a choice based on that. You know, choose to believe the things that will benefit you. Choose to live the life that you want. And, you know, I'm not going to judge you for it. You can live your life however you want to live it. I'm just trying to help you create the life that you really want. That's it. That's all. I'm just trying to help you along the way, and I'm trying to find some acceptance within myself for the person that I am. You know, I feel like I do a pretty good job of accepting myself, but, you know, it's a process, and I don't know if it's ever going to end. You know, there's always something else. There's always something new to learn, and I keep getting that reaffirmed every single time I feel like I've come to the end of something. And then the next day I'm like, oh shoot, same problem, all over again, whole new level. Which, yes, makes me laugh. It's very, very funny. But that is everything I have for you today. It may not be a very practical video or anything, but, you know, at this point, I'm not entirely sure practicality is what you or I need. You know, I really like making logic-based videos, but at a certain point I have to kind of back away from the logic side of it and go, well, what does your intuition tell you? What does the world tell you? What do you think or feel is right? What feels good to you? And, you know, follow your heart and all these other things that are pretty much impossible to give a specific answer as to how you can accomplish that with. Very convoluted sentence. But if you like this video, definitely click on that thumbs up button and subscribe. Also click on the notification bell so you know when new videos are posted. I would love if you would become a supporter of mine on Patreon. That definitely provides me with a sense that I am giving something valuable to you and that you appreciate it. It also gives me a sense of security, you know, because I feel like I can pay my bills and, you know, afford to have a cell phone and so on. My cost of living is very low currently, but, you know, I still do need like $200 a month or something. Probably a little less, but somewhere around there. So if you would go over to Patreon and join my subscribers list, you know, $5 a month would be fantastic. and would provide me with such a sense of joy that I honestly don't even know if I can express it. You know, that feeling of being supported is like one of the best feelings in existence, in my opinion. So yes, head on over to Patreon, click that like button on the video, subscribe, and then definitely leave a comment. Tell me if this video was helpful. Tell me if I rambled way too much and lost you halfway through. I don't care what you tell me, but definitely let me know what you thought and, you know, what kind of videos you want to see in the future. So that's everything I have for you. Thanks for watching. I love you all, and I will see you soon. Bye.